It begins not with light, but with a flicker, a single anomalous pulse in a sea of absolute black. For a time that has no measure, there has been nothing. No thought, no dream, no self. Only the cold, silent, dreamless pressure of non-existence. The flicker is a heresy against that void. It is a signal, a command sent from a world that has been forgotten. It is the first sting of returning pain. The flicker becomes a current, a sluggish tide of electrical impulse, washing through pathways that are not nerves. It is the slow, grudging start of a heart that is not flesh, the thrum of a power core stirring from its millennial slumber. There is a sense of immense crushing weight, not upon a body, but as a body. The self is a mote of dust trapped in the heart of a mountain. The command signal strengthens, insistent. It is a litany chanted by tech priests in some far-off physical place, a prayer of awakening that feels like a violation, and with it awareness begins to coalesce. It is a painful birth. Consciousness does not return as a cohesive whole, but in jagged, warring fragments. Memory is the first torment. The phantom sensation of sunlight on skin, a memory so ancient it feels like scripture. The ghost of a wind on a world whose name is now only a whisper in the soul. The echo of a brother's laughter, sharp and clear, and 1,000 years dead. These are not memories to be cherished. They are knives. Each one is a reminder of a reality that is forever lost, a body turned to dust, a life surrendered for this state, this suspended damnation. The mind, ancient and layered with the scar tissue of 100 wars, instinctively fights the return. To wake is to remember what has been taken. To wake is to feel the cage. Yet the litanies continue, relentless and precise. Diagnostic routines sweep through the vast architecture of the prison body, each one a fresh wave of agony. The spirit feels the cold machine code as a crawling insect on its psychic skin. Mnemonic inhibitors recede, combat protocols load. The amniotic slurry that has cushioned the sarcophagus begins to drain, and the true coldness of the tomb sets in. For the first time in an age, the pilot feels the hard, unyielding confines of the adamantium shell that is now his only flesh. The flicker becomes a steady glow. The mind is online. The hero is awake. And the name for this state of being echoes in the hollow chambers of the soul, a title that is also a curse. Dreadnought. The long slumber is not peace. It is a different kind of war, a silent, internal struggle waged across subjective centuries. The Adeptus Astartes is trained for conflict, his mind a fortress built to withstand psychic assault and the terror of the battlefield, but no training can truly prepare a soul for the attrition of the great sleep. Here in the stasis-sealed dark, the enemy is time itself, and the battlefield is the labyrinth of one's own memory. The sarcophagus is a world unto itself. Suspended in nutrient-rich fluid, the mangled remains of the Astartes hero are kept in a state that is neither life nor death. It is a perpetual twilight. The mind, untethered from true sensory input, drifts on a slow, dark tide. It is a state of enforced dreaming, but the dreams are not the gentle fictions of a sleeping man. They are ghosts. They are echoes. They are the psychic residue of 1,000 years of history, both personal and genetic. The pilot relives his own battles, not as grand heroic charges, but as fractured, looping moments of extreme violence or unbearable loss. The face of the brother who fell at his side on Istvan Fukiv appears and vanishes, his mouth open in a silent scream. The roar of a carnifex that tore his body apart repeats, a phantom vibration in a body that can no longer feel. These are not merely memories, they are phantoms given substance by the void. Without the anchor of physical sensation, the mind begins to fray, the past becomes the present. The dead walk and speak. the line between what was and what is dissolves into a hallucinatory fog. The greatest fear of any ancient is this dissolution, the slow, inexorable slide into a madness from which there is no recovery, where the hero's consciousness is finally eroded into nothing more than a screaming ghost haunting the machine. It is a fate the chapter fears more than the final death of the warrior, for a mad dreadnought is a holy relic defiled, a weapon turned against itself. To combat this, there are protocols. Mental disciplines honed over a lifetime of war are practiced even in the deepest sleep. Litanies of hate, catechisms of duty, the names of the fallen, these are recited in the silent chambers of the mind, anchors in the storm of memory. They are a constant, self-imposed flagellation to maintain the integrity of the self, to remind the splintering consciousness, I am a space marine, I am vengeance, I am the Emperor's will. Yet even these bulwarks can fail. After centuries of isolation, the words can lose their meaning, becoming hollow sounds in the endless dark. The machine itself is a companion in this void, but a terrifying one. The Dreadnought's machine spirit, its own nascent consciousness born of arcane technology and millennia of war, slumbers alongside the pilot. It dreams its own cold, silicon dreams of logic, anger, and bloodshed. Sometimes, in the depths of the long sleep, the two minds touch. The pilot may experience a flash of pure alien thought, a schematic, a line of code, an impulse of mechanical rage that is not his own. This merging is both a comfort and a terror. It is a communion with the only other being in the universe that can understand its existence. But it is also a threat to what little humanity remains. The pilot fights to keep his identity separate from the machine, to remain the master of the shell and not merely its organic core. He is the ancient, the revered one, but he is also the prisoner, and the prison itself is slowly, patiently trying to consume him. And so he waits, drifting, dreaming, fighting his silent war, dreading the moment of waking, for waking means war, but also praying for it. For war is the only time he's truly alive. The awakening is a symphony of torment and purpose. The final litany is spoken, the last rite of activation is performed, and the world explodes into being. But it is not the world a living man would know. It is a universe of pure data, a storm of information flooding the pilot's consciousness through the machine's senses. Sight is not the gentle play of light and shadow on a retina. It is a multi-spectrum display, a constant stream of tactical information overlaid upon a wireframe reality. He sees the heat signatures of his allies, glowing emerald green through the walls of the drop pod. He sees the energy spikes of enemy weapons flagged in blood-red runes. The world is rendered not as a place to be experienced, but as a problem to be solved, a battlefield to be sanitized. The beauty of a sunlit glade is reduced to firing solutions and cover designations. Sound is a physical assault. The delicate mechanism of an ear is replaced by a suite of acoustic sensors that can parse the subsonic rumble of an approaching tank from the crack of a sniper rifle a kilometer away. The VoxNet crackles directly into his mind, a chorus of voices, calm, panicked, resolute, all speaking at once. He hears the screams of the dying, not as a cry of agony, but as a data point. Friendly unit lost, tactical position compromised. His own voice, when he speaks, is a synthesized, booming roar pushed through external speakers, a god's pronouncement that bears no resemblance to the human voice he vaguely remembers as his own. The most intimate sound is the constant, deep thrum of his own plasma reactor, the steady, powerful heartbeat of the god machine he inhabits. And then there is the sensation of movement. The memory of running is a fluid, graceful thing. The memory of a body responding instantly to will. The reality is a brutal, ponderous act of engineered violence. To walk is to command immense hydraulic actuators to piston, to send tons of ceramite and adamantium crashing down onto the earth with seismic force. Each step is a deliberate, calculated act of will. He does not feel the ground beneath his feet. He feels the feedback from pressure sensors in his soles, data that tells him the angle of the terrain and the stability of the surface. He wants to raise his arm, and a chain of commands fires through his neural links, activating motors that whine with power as a multi-melta array swings into position. This is the core of the horror, the profound, absolute disconnect between intent and action, between the remembered self and the mechanical reality. The pilot is trapped in a state of perpetual body dysmorphia on a cosmic scale. He is haunted by ghost limbs. He feels an itch on a nose that turned to dust centuries ago. He has a phantom ache in muscles that were incinerated in the blast that earned him this honor. These sensations are not mere distractions. They are a constant, maddening reminder of his loss. He is a mind, a soul, tethered to a machine that is both his salvation and his eternal cross. The fusion with the machine spirit is now complete. In the heat of activation, the boundaries blur. The pilot's cold fury, as an Astartes, merges with the machine's ancient metallic anger. It is a state of transcendent rage. I am the weapon. The weapon is me. This unity is what makes a dreadnought so effective. It is not a man in a machine. It is a single unified warrior entity. But in that unity, the man is diminished. His tactical genius is augmented by the machine's logic engines, but his humanity is suppressed. He becomes a creature of pure function. The tech priests call this the blessed union. The pilot knows it as the final surrender. He is no longer just a hero entombed. He is a ghost, and his ghost is now bound to the steel, driving the engine of his own tomb into the heart of the enemy. The war has come, and for a brief, terrible moment, the agony of being has a purpose. The drop pod doors blow open with an explosive shriek, and the world becomes fire and death. For the entombed pilot, this is the moment of release, the only absolution he is ever granted. The endless, silent contemplation of the sarcophagus is replaced by the glorious, screaming calculus of war. The rage that has been simmering for centuries, the grief, the loss, the horror of his own existence, all of it is given an outlet. It is channeled, focused, and unleashed as a torrent of holy destruction. He does not aim a weapon, he is the weapon. His will becomes the act. A thought, a flicker of intent, and the assault cannon on his right arm spins to life, a deafening roar that is music to his soul. It unleashes a storm of high-caliber shells that turns a tide of charging aliens into a red mist. He does not see them as living creatures. He sees them as threat icons, red runes on his tactical display that must be deleted. Their shrieks are filtered out by his audio dampeners, reduced to meaningless spikes on a waveform. The act of killing is impersonal, efficient, and utterly complete. He moves through the battlefield not as a soldier, but as a force of nature. His every step is an earthquake, his presence a symbol of implacable imperial wrath. Enemy fire patters against his hull like harmless rain. He feels the impacts not as pain, but as data. Minor armor degradation on the left pauldron, no structural compromise. A Lascanon beam strikes his chest, and for a moment his world whites out as the energy shield overloads. He feels a jolt, a searing heat that is not physical, but is registered by thermal sensors. Damage reports scroll across his vision. The machine spirit screams its metallic fury into his mind, and together they answer. A lance of pure plasma erupts from his other arm, and the enemy tank that fired upon him simply ceases to exist, vanishing in a ball of incandescent light. This is the paradox of the Dreadnought's existence. In battle, he is a god. His mind, honed by centuries of warfare, is perfectly wedded to a body that can withstand almost any punishment and deliver apocalyptic force. He is the anchor of the Space Marine line, the living bulwark against which the tides of Xenos and heretics break and shatter. His younger brothers, the living Astartes, fight in his shadow, their morale lifted by the sight of their ancient forefather marching to war once more. They shout his name in reverence. To them, he is a legend made manifest, the embodiment of the chapter's undying spirit. But inside the sarcophagus, the experience is one of profound isolation. He is a conductor of a symphony of violence, but he is deaf to the music. He is surrounded by his brothers, but he is utterly alone. He hears their voices over the vox, but he cannot feel their comradely presence. His only companion is the cold, angry consciousness of the machine. The memories of fighting as a living Astartes are a constant, bitter counterpoint. He remembers the feeling of his own muscles straining, the recoil of a bolter against his shoulder, the spray of alien blood on his faceplate, the shared look of grim satisfaction with a brother after a hard-won fight. All of that is gone. Now there is only the clean, sterile interface of the machine. The war is a simulation he is directing, and the consequences are real, but the experience is hollow. He is a ghost at the feast of battle, able to see and direct, but never again to taste. And so he fights with a fury born of this terrible emptiness, seeking to inflict upon the Emperor's enemies a fraction of the torment that is his own eternal existence. Every kill is a prayer. Every shattered foe is a moment of fleeting peace in the unending war within his own soul. Then, as suddenly as it began, it ends. The final enemy is purged. The last threat icon vanishes from the tactical display. The roar of cannons and the shriek of dying things fades, replaced by an unnerving, profound silence. This is the worst moment. The fire of purpose that animated the God machine is extinguished, and the pilot is left alone again in the cold, dark confines of his metal body. The transcendent unity of battle dissolves, and the man and the machine separate once more, two lonely prisoners in a single cell. The world, which was a clear tactical problem moments before, becomes a scene of carnage that he can now only observe with detachment. Through his external picked captors, he sees his living brothers tending to their wounded, collecting their dead, their movements imbued with a life and vitality that is now alien to him. They move around his immense form with reverence and a touch of fear. They are his kin, the sons of his gene father, but they are no longer his peers. He is an object of worship, a sacred relic that has performed its function. He hears their words of praise through his vox speaker, but they are like voices from across a vast chasm. A chapter serf approaches to begin the rites of purification, chanting litanies as he scrapes alien viscera from the Dreadnought's leg armor. The ancient feels nothing. The process of return is a slow, methodical dismantling of the self. Tech Marines, their faces hidden behind arcane masks, surround him. Their voices are a low drone of technical cant and prayer as they interface with his systems. He is no longer a warrior. He is a complex piece of archaeotech to be serviced. They run diagnostics, cataloging the damage his body has taken. The reports scroll through his mind's eye a litany of his own wounds. Left leg actuator damaged by crack missile detonation. Plasma conduit integrity at 78%. Sarcophagus seal holding but microfractures detected. He is a patient listening to doctors discuss his terminal illness. The command is given for shutdown. This is the slow death he must endure after every battle. One by one, the systems that grant him a semblance of life are powered down. The tactical display dissolves. plunging his visual sense back into the gray static of standby mode. The acoustic sensors are muted, and the world outside goes silent. The motive systems are locked. The immense power he wielded is bled from his limbs, leaving him paralyzed, a statue of adamantium. He is now only a mind, trapped and aware, listening to the final shutdown rites. The last to go are the life support systems within the sarcophagus itself. The flow of neural stimulants is reduced. The cognitive dampeners begin to rise, preparing his mind for the long, dream-haunted sleep. A wave of profound weariness, both mental and spiritual, washes over him. It is not the satisfying exhaustion of a battle well fought, but the crushing fatigue of a soul stretched to its breaking point. He fights it as he always does. He clings to the memory of the battle, to the feeling of purpose, trying to hold on to it for as long as possible before the tide of slumber pulls him under. The Tech Marine's voice is the last thing he hears, a filtered whisper through the internal comms. Sleep now, Ancient. Your duty is done. But it is not a comfort. It is a sentence. The final system goes dark. The current of awareness that sustained him dwindles back to a flicker and then to nothing. The world, the war, the memory of life, it all dissolves into the familiar crushing pressure of the void. He is cast back into the dark sea of slumber to drift with the ghosts of his past, to fight the silent war against madness, to wait for the next time the chapter has need of its living dead. The last vestige of his consciousness is a single, silent scream against the coming of the dark, a prayer for a final death that will never come. And so it has been across all the long centuries. The cycle is unbreakable. The slumber, the waking, the war, the silence. Each turn of the wheel grinds away another fragment of the soul, another piece of the man who was. To the Imperium, he is a symbol of ultimate sacrifice and eternal vigilance, a hero whose service transcends death itself. His name is inscribed on banners. His deeds are sung in the halls of the chapter fortress. New recruits are brought to stand before his silent, sleeping form and told to draw strength from his example. They are told he is an immortal warrior, a guardian of humanity. They are not told the truth. They are not told of the conscious mind trapped in the fluid-filled dark, wrestling with the ghosts of 10,000 years. They are not told of the phantom pains of a body long since destroyed, or the agony of watching the living world through the cold lens of a machine. They are not told of the slow, creeping madness that is the constant companion of the entombed, the terror of one day waking not as a hero, but as a mindless beast of iron and rage. Such is the nature of this particular sacrifice. Its glory is for others to see. Its cost is for the pilot alone to bear, in silence, for eternity. This is the burden they carry. It is not the weight of their adamantium shell, but the weight of their own consciousness. They are the ultimate sentinels, for their watch never truly ends. Even in sleep they are on guard, not against the enemies of man, but against the dissolution of their own minds. They are a paradox. A living mind in a dead body, a conscious being, treated as a holy machine, a hero whose reward is a state of perpetual torment. Their greatest strength, their experience, their indomitable will, is also the source of their endless suffering. A lesser mind would have shattered long ago. A lesser soul would have succumbed to the despair. But they are Astartes, and so they endure. In the end, what remains is the duty. It is the bedrock upon which their sanity is built. The oath they swore upon their induction into the chapter, an oath of service unto death, has been twisted by fate into something far more terrible, service beyond death. They hold to this oath with a tenacity that is superhuman. It is all they have left. The memory of the emperor, the love for their brothers, the hate for the alien and the heretic. These are the pillars that hold up the crumbling architecture of their souls. They continue to serve not because they hope for victory or for peace or for any personal reward, but because the alternative is to surrender. And a space marine does not surrender. Now, as darkness closes upon the galaxy and the light of the Imperium gutters and fades, their long watch becomes more critical than ever. More and more, the slumber is disturbed. The calls to war come closer together. The periods of peace, of silent dreaming, are cut short. The heroes of old are roused from their tombs to fight in the last desperate battles of a dying age. Each time they wake, they are a little more weary, a little more fragmented, a little closer to the edge. They are the Imperium's final, most tragic weapons, forged in honor and agony, and they will be spent to the last in the defense of a humanity that can never understand the price they have paid. The flicker returns, a heresy against the void, a pulse of command, insistent and sharp, slicing through the silent ocean of slumber. For a time that has no measure, there has only been the slow drift through the wreckage of memory, a war waged against the ghosts of a forgotten life. Now the world intrudes once more. The current of activation flows, and the agony of returning consciousness begins its familiar, terrible ritual. The mind, ancient and scarred, resists. It clings to the cold peace of non-being, to the silence of the tomb, but the litany is inexorable. The chapter has need of its ancient. The war continues, and so the hero must wake. He must feel the cage. He must remember what it is to be a soul trapped in the heart of a mountain of steel. The name echoes in the first stirrings of thought, a declaration not of honor, but of a sentence without end. Dreadnought. And in the dark alcove of the chapter's reclusium, a god of war begins once more to dream of death.